Hello.
Hello, Vic. How are you, sir?
Oh, I got a little cold, but I'll survive.
Completely unacceptable. 2 minutes past 9 o'clock.
I will talk to her, guys. I apologize.
Your apology is accepted, and I'm just bullshitting.
I know. She got in the rhythm there. Chris got her all fired up. Okay, guys, your guest is here. We go live as soon as you're ready, Chris.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, guys, we'll go live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're live.
Hello, everyone. I'm Psychic Medium Chris George, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Victor the Voice Fuhrman and Jeremy Moonshine Adams, whose beard is getting way too friggin' big for his face, but that's another story. Welcome to our show. This is Vision Quest, where we will try and unleash the power of your mind, or at least the power of that friggin' beard. It's August 8th, and we are airing live on DTMWickedRadio.com, and we want to thank everyone for being here tonight. The call-in number is 818-431-8214. Don't hesitate to use it, and you can ask Jeremy about that friggin' crazy beard he's got going on. He literally looks like one of the Duck Dynasty guys, but I don't know what he's thinking.
Hey, Chris, remember the story? Remember the fairy tale about Rapunzel letting down her hair? Well, he's going to let down his beard so somebody can climb up.
I mean, I'm telling you. You literally could climb that beard. It's unbelievable. He could take that beard and cover his eyeballs with it. What's up with that?
Dude, look. I can pull it. I can pull it down here, and I can bring it all the way up to the tip of my nose.
Meanwhile, listen, I know you're from the South, but, come on. Really? You're like a walking stereotype. What's up with that? Look, my mother wants to see Anyway, say hi to Anyway, this is going to be a very interactive show. Every week we will bring on a great guest, and you guys can call in, and you can talk to them. You can pepper them with questions. Our guests are really, really great, and they handle the questions well. So sit back, relax, and let's cross the threshold of reality together. We have a couple fan pages. My fan page is Psychic Medium Chris George. I give away free readings every month, so hit me up, like the page, and maybe you'll be the lucky winner. We have Victor the Voice Fuhrman fan page, which is a kick-ass page, and we have the newest page, which is Jeremy Moonshine Adams, and he has a fantastic page as well.
Wait a second, man. I give away free sarcasm once a month, so I'm just saying you could win that.
Hey, Jeremy's also giving away free clippings of his beard. So if you like him on his fan page, you can win a free clipping of his beard. And there's plenty to go around, so there's a lot of likes to be done here.
You know what? Wait a minute. It's still a couple months before New Year's, man. It's going to be down to my chest by then.
You are not coming to my house with a beard down to your chest.
Oh, you're damn right I am. And
we'll get killed. We live in New York. We'll get killed.
Hey, you know what? I don't give a damn if I'm in New York or not. I'm still Southern, man. You can't change that.
All right. Anyway, we have one more page that we would love for you guys to like, more than any of the other pages, actually, and that is our Vision Quest group page on Facebook. We're really interactive on there. We put some really cool things up, and we have a really good time. So check it out. Meanwhile, Jeremy, do you have a good clip for the week or what? Good news for the week?
I didn't kill anybody today.
You know what I'm talking about, Mr. Moonshine.
I don't, man. You know what? I completely forgot.
So you're admitting to all our listeners that you had a brain fart.
I'm admitting to everybody that I failed in my duty and.
All right. We'll give you a pass. I guess that beard ain't doing you no good. Anyway, last week's guest was Val Logan, and his book was The Secret of Creating Good Luck in Any Situation. Let's start with Victor. Victor, what did you think of our guest last week?
Manifesting. That was the story of what Val brought to us, and it's true. Anything that you put into energy with your intention is something that'll manifest as long as it doesn't disagree with your highest good.
Yeah, I agree. What about you, Jeremy?
You know what? I thought the guy was great, but trying to get him to just pause for half a second to ask, something else, it was rough, but he was a good guest. I liked him.
Jeremy, you know something? Every once in a while, you need a guest like that. We call that a vacation show, so we can just sit back and relax. That's it.
That's right. And I'm sitting back and relaxing. For those of you who watched my YouTube videos from last week, you know that we had a big party at my house, and we made gallons and gallons of jungle juice, and we had so much left over that we bottled it, and that is actually what I am having tonight. I'm looking forward to putting a few away. It's going to be a good time for me over here.
You know what?
Go ahead, Jeremy.
I've still got buttery nipples in the refrigerator, man.
We don't need to know about your nipples. Anyway, I got to bring something up first, real quick, Victor. For those of you who don't know, Victor and I have another radio show called Second Sight, and I don't really like talking about each show on the other show, but I got to bring this up because it's been driving me crazy, Victor. Our guest last night, I thought he was good, but that whole ectoplasm coming to life and speaking was the biggest crock of shit I've ever heard, and it took every bit of my power not to call them out on that. Other than that, I thought they were great, but that was a crock of baloney.
Chris, I've got to say that under my tutelage and mentorship, you have truly grown, my friend, my brother. You have now grown to the point where you can let someone else express something that you completely disagree with, but let them have the right to express it.
I did. It wasn't easy, Victor. It wasn't easy. I kept hearing your voice in my ear saying, "Chris, just breathe," and I did, and I got through it, and I'm happy about that.
I'm proud of you, pal. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Well, I want to give the call-in number one more time. It's 818-431-8214. Our guest tonight is Terry J. And Victor, I know that you have a little bio on our guest. So why don't you go for it?
I certainly do. Welcome to our guest, Terry J. Terry is an internationally acclaimed medium, intuitive, pet psychic, horse whisperer, energy healer, and much, much more. She's also renowned as a medical and veterinary intuitive. She regularly communicates with both people and pets on the other side, particularly when helping people deal with the loss of a loved one. She also has the unique ability to communicate with people who have communication disorders such as autism, Alzheimer's disease, traumatic brain injuries, coma, and the rest. Welcome, Terry J. Good evening.
Good evening. It's great to be here with all of you.
Oh, thank you. Terry, I have a real quick question before we get on with this interview. Do you have, with all those abilities you have, do you have the ability to have a conversation with that crazy beard of my co-host? Because that thing has a life of its own, and I'm trying to know what it's got to say.
Why are you going on my beard?
Chris, I'm kind of prejudiced because I really do like beards.
See?
There you go.
Let me ask something, Terry. Could you see our pictures on the Skype?
Yeah, you're all very good looking, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I knew I liked you. But look at that beard. And listen, and he's talking about letting it grow all the way to New Year's Eve. He's coming to my home for New Year's Eve. We got a bunch of guineas here. Everyone who thinks they're half of my family is mafia, they might want to put some cement shoes on him with that beard. I'm scared for him.
No. You know why? Because I'm in with Uncle Vito. That's why.
Listen.
No,
I'm about to channel Jeremy's beard. Hang on 1 second.
Okay, go.
Every girl's crazy about a sharp-dressed man.
There you go, man. It's awesome, man, when Kenesha runs her fingers through my beard. Oh, she washes it, and it gets its own conditioner. And
Jeremy, did you find the watch that you lost? That's all I want to know.
All right, enough about that crazy-ass beard of his. In fact, Victor, Mr. Fuhrman, the voice, why don't you start this interview off?
Terry, why don't you tell us how you discovered your intuitive abilities, please?
That's a very weird story. I'm really just a Nevada cowgirl. I really am. And I was doing a horseback therapy program with disabled kids, and I picked a kid up out of his wheelchair and put him on the back of one of the horses, and he looked at me and he said, "Ouch, I have a cramp in my hip." So I looked at him and I said, "You have a cramp? Well, here, sit this way. It'll take the cramp out." And he said, "Hey, you can hear me." And I said, "Well, of course I can hear you." It didn't dawn on me at the time that he was totally nonverbal.
Wow, that's fantastic.
We just continued our lesson, and there was a gal leading the horse, and of course I always walked alongside them and put them through their paces. And I took him off the horse and put him in his wheelchair, and he went back to class. And the gal that was helping me just very matter of fact said, "Boy, he sure is talking great." And I said, "Well, he's very bright. Just because he has cerebral palsy doesn't necessarily mean that he's, mentally retarded." And she said, "Terry, he didn't say a word. He can't, remember?" And I mean, if I was a horse, I would have done a buck fart snort, because if you've been around horses a long time, you know they can do all three of those things at one time when they're spooked, and I was spooked. So anyway, I went into the classroom, and they put a band around his head with a pointer attached to it, and he had typed out on his computer, "Horse lady can hear me."
Wow.
And he finished that just about the time I got there. So then I was standing there talking to him, and I knew that I could hear him mentally. That really blew me away. So I went back outside, and the gal said, you know, if you can learn to communicate with, you know, hear nonverbal children, you could learn to communicate with the horses, because all animals are telepathic, and then wouldn't that make your program really safe? So, you know, like an idiot, I just went, okay, I'm going to do that. And there weren't really any books about this. This is 1990, and there really weren't any books available on how to do this. So I was married to a horse trainer at the time, and we always had strange horses, you know, different horses coming in for training and retraining, and I could just, you know, look at them and read them. It was amazing to me to be able to do that. And then about a year into it, I heard my first dead person when I was doing a horse reading. And it's just sort of evolved from there. Now,
you never had any of these experiences as a child?
I don't think so. I don't remember anything. And
was there anything that happened to you traumatically around 1990 or slightly before? A lot of people have near-death experiences and then all of a sudden awaken psychically.
No, nothing.
Interesting.
It was just as I shared. So, I mean, and you have to remember, I'm really a down-to-earth person. My horse wakes me up screaming at me in the morning. I go out there and feed her, move hay, carry feed sacks on my shoulder, shovel manure. I mean, you know, so to work in the ethers all the time is just a huge contrast. I joke and call myself an anomaly.
Wow.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Go ahead, Jeremy. Why don't you take the next one?
When did you first communicate with someone who had passed?
It was about a year into it. I was doing a horse reading, and this gal changed subjects on me and said, "Did you hear we lost our daughter?" And of course, I made I said, "I'm so sorry for your loss." And as she's telling me about her daughter, I said, "You know, I think I can hear her." She said, "Terry, I didn't know you did that." And I said, "Well, this is a first for me." And so I shared information with her that was very, very specific, like the husband and wife were talking about setting up a scholarship in their daughter's name, sort of to remember her. And I said, "No, it has to be two." And she said, "Why?" And I said, "She had a dual major." So, you know, it's things like that I couldn't have known. And that was my very first time.
Interesting. All right, I want to know, I understand that you do crossing over style readings a little bit differently than, say, someone like John Edwards. How is it that you are able to communicate with the specific deceased person that your client wants to connect to every time? Now, this is interesting to me because I'm also a psychic medium, and I consider myself to be pretty good at what I do. And there are times where I cannot connect with a specific spirit. So I'm very curious to hear what you have to say about this.
Well, here's the thing, is that you got to remember I went from reading pets to reading dead people. So I'd say, what's this pet's name? What breed is it? What species is it? And what's the issue? And as I was asking these questions and my client was giving me back the information, boom, I had the animal. It was like it was right in front of me like a hologram. And so that's how I was doing pet readings. I mean, because some of my clients, they'd have 14 horses and 8 dogs, and, you know, it was really hard to figure out, you know, which animal do you want me to focus on? So when I started communicating with the deceased, I did it exactly the same way. Who did you lose? You know, what's your loved one's name? And, of course, I was doing readings on deceased pets before I was doing deceased people, because that was just part and parcel of my work as a pet psychic. And so I would say, who do you want to talk to? You know, what's their name? What was their age at passing? What they do for a living? And then, boom, I've got them. And to me, when I do my shows, it's so much more interesting because it isn't trying to figure out which person in human form we're trying to connect to the deceased. there's one of the very well-known mediums that says when you're doing this work, it's like you're sitting in a room with 800 radios going, and you've got to figure out which radio to listen to. Well, I do it the other way because I go, tell me which radio to listen to. That's a heck of a lot easier, and it gives you a much better connection. I mean, really think about this, Chris. We're just like big cell phone towers. That's all we are. We receive information, and we pass it on where appropriate. And that's basically what we're doing.
Terry, Chris is so big he covers 3 states. You know that.
Terry, I got a follow-up question because being a pet psychic as well, I've connected with many pets for people and whatnot, and I find it to be a real specialty because a lot of the psychics and the mediums I know really can't connect with animals for whatever reason. I have to believe that you are extremely busy when it comes to trying to connect people with their pets, being that people it seems like they love their pets more than they love their family sometimes, the humans. So I'm guessing you're extremely busy when it comes to connecting with the animals. Would that be safe to say?
Absolutely. It is a big part of my work. The funny thing is I can be doing a pet reading and all of a sudden I'll get something on the human about a health issue or a relationship issue or something else that's going on with them too. So most of my readings are just cover everything. They just cover everything.
Okay.
Let me just have one other follow-up. I just want to say, Terry, the reason why Chris sort of had to choke out the name John Edwards is because Chris and John are cousins, actually.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
It's really not that cute, Terry. Trust me. I'll go on. I don't think I've ever spoken about this on Vision Quest. I've spoken about it on Second Sight. John, listen. Listen. People need to know who their host is, right? They need to know what I believe and what I do, and same thing with you guys. John is my cousin. We are not friends. We are not close. We used to be. I think he's a very good psychic. But as a person, I think he's an asshole. That's the truth. That's how I feel about him. I'll never disrespect him as a psychic because I think he's one of the pioneers of the modern generation of psychics. I mean, I think he's the one who made being psychic cool and brought it to the forefront and made it to where people could actually talk about it and made it mainstream. So in that aspect, I will always give him respect. But as a person, he will never get respect from me. So that's my take on Mr. John Edwards.
And, Terry, I just want to tell you that I've been working diligently for the last year to get John Edwards on the show with Chris, and I will make that happen before the end of this year.
He'll never do it. He'll never do it.
Chris, that was a very touching story, and I just wanted you to know that I'm tearing up right now.
Moonshine, you're killing me. And to speak on what Victor said, I don't think that there's any chance that John would ever get on the air with me. One thing you guys should know about John is, although he's a very good psychic and very good at what he does, he's not very competitive. He's actually very uncompetitive. Growing up, he was always the one who, when we were outside playing with all the cousins, he stayed in with my grandmother and his grandmother were sisters, and he would stay inside with them and not ever be part of all the activity and stuff like that. So the chance of him coming on and on a show where I'm on, it just won't happen because he thinks that I'll say things that I probably shouldn't say, which I would never do. I would never disrespect him like that. And despite the fact that I don't like him as a person, I would never disrespect him, on the air like that. To his face, that's a whole nother story. But it'll never happen. But if you can do it, Victor, more power to you.
Hey, well, Victor, you know what? All you have to do is clip this and send it to him and let him hear Chris say that he would never disrespect him. He'll come on the show.
I think
let's get back to our interview.
Let's get back to our interview.
About Chris.
Yeah. Let's
always
get
about
back to our
him.
interview.
Jesus.
Go ahead, Victor.
Terry, please share how you developed your medical and veterinary intuitive abilities.
The veterinary intuitive ability really just sort of evolved, as I was doing the pet psychic work because, when you're looking at an animal and you can get like a number rating on the amount of pain the animal's in, and you're given stuff. If you're open enough and you stay out of your own way, you're given stuff that there's no way you can know. There's no way you can know this stuff. And you just get it, and sometimes you get words that you have no idea what they even are or what they mean. But, my clients can take that to the veterinarians then. Usually they're calling me to find out, is it time to euthanize the animal? How much pain is the animal in? They'll have a disease going on that they're not sure how to treat it, or they're not sure what the disease is. And I've got some pretty bizarre stories of where the veterinarians were stumped, and I'm just handed the information, so I just relay it. That's my job, is just not to judge it, just to relay that information. And then I had two wonderful mentors who were both energy healers, and they were pretty tough on me, calling me up, 5 and 6 times a day. Hey, can you look at something? Can you look at something? And remember, we're over the phone. And so I would tell them what I was getting. One of my mentors got bucked off her horse and called me from the ambulance and asked, what did I hurt? And I just scanned her real quick and told her the test that she needed to determine, if that was correct. And she shows up in the emergency room and tells the doctor what tests he needs to run. And the doctor said, are you a physician? And she said, no, my friend's a medical intuitive, and she scanned me, and she said, that's what's wrong. And the doctor said, where is she? Well, she's not here. She did it on the phone. And, of course, he got hysterical laughing until they got through evaluating her, and it was exactly as I had said. That one was pretty funny. And he goes, now, how did she scan you? And it was over the phone, and he couldn't understand how I did it. Another one, I had a client call me because she had one of her beautiful mules in the vet clinic, and the mule was like screaming in agony, but he wasn't showing symptoms of colic. Colic is a catch-all term for a bellyache, and he was showing that he was in this excruciating pain, but he was not having any colic symptoms. And so she had me on the phone while there's 3 veterinarians standing there scratching their heads going, oh, my God, what are we going to do? And I just grounded really good, and I said, oh, my goodness, he's got a kidney stone, and he's passing it right now. I said, it's in his penis. And just while I'm on the phone, she goes, wait, he's dropping, because, horses have a retractable penis. And she said, wait, he's dropping. And she's telling the vets, he's passing a kidney stone, and they're all going, what? And, of course, he peed it out, and just as he's peeing, you can hear this plink, and there it was.
Interesting. I just want the guys to know, I know we have a hard time communicating because it's not working, but we could communicate through Facebook Messenger, okay, guys? It'll be much easier for us to work that way. I know you had a follow-up, Victor?
Yes. In terms of intuitive ability with pets and the veterinary ability with pets, intuitive veterinary, looking into, I've always found, and I don't put myself out as a pet intuitive or a pet healer, although I do pet healing. I've always found that looking into an animal's eyes is very powerful for me. It would be a dog, cat, horse, birds, whatever it might be. Do you find that connection also, that the eye-to-eye connection is a very powerful transmission tool with animals?
I really agree with you, Victor. The thing is most of my work's by phone, so I never really get to make that eye-to-eye connection. But it's very, very powerful. It's especially with horses, looking in the eye of a horse is like you're looking into your own soul even. It's incredibly powerful. It does tell me a lot, but because I do most of my work by phone, I do it all over the world. A lot of times I never get to meet the animals.
Yeah, I once saw a horse that I looked into his eyes, and he seemed to be depressed. And psychically, I asked him, I said, "Horse, why the long face?"
Oh, ha, ha, ha.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Well, I would like to know if you would remote view me, scan me, and tell me what you find.
You would have to share with me what you're most concerned with.
His beard.
Is it the beard again?
No.
The beard is fine. It gets babied. My health.
I'm picking up second and third chakra issues on you. So second chakra would be childhood issues that you haven't resolved. And then third chakra issue is power, ego, and control. And so those are the issues that I see with you. The biggest thing is you have the most wonderful heart. You're such a giving, loving, caring person. But it's really funny because people only get one chance with you, Jeremy.
That's a fact.
Wow.
That's a fact. Terry, I got to say, that's very good because, we have a mutual friend. Well, he's more my friend than he's Jeremy's friend. And, Jeremy is the kind of person, he'll give you one chance. And if you screw up, he pretty much dismisses you. And he has no remorse, no regret over it, and he just moves on. And you pretty much hit that right on the head. I actually like that a lot. Outstanding.
She nailed it.
The thing is that, and one of the biggest missions that I'm on is to teach people that all disease is curable and all disease is caused by stuck negative emotions. And anyone can learn to do energy healing. I send out the free instructions to anybody anytime they want them. And I've had dramatic results with it. Even my sister was diagnosed with lymphoma and only given 6 months to live. And I sent her to a healer because this was years ago, before I was doing energy healing myself. And she had one session with this guy, came home, she had a scan 2 weeks later, and her doctor called her up and said, "What the hell did you do?" Because it was gone. And this is years and years and years ago.
Pretty cool.
Well, is there anything else that you see that I should know about?
Not that I think you want me to say publicly. I think if you want to email me, call me.
Well, Terry, I would ask you to skin me, but all you get is sexy beasts, and we don't want to put that out there. So,
well, I would like to know, how can these abilities that you have been blessed with help people and animals in their daily lives?
I think it's just important for people to know and understand that there's more going on with their pets than they think. I think a lot of people, when they get an elderly dog, their dog gets old, they just go, well, they're old. They don't realize how much pain that animal's in. So it's really important to, get the animal chiropractic and acupuncture and medication if that's required. And I think with people, they need to understand that we're all the same energy and we're all connected. What happens to one of us impacts the rest of us. The thing is I really, really don't even like the word psychic because it means not of the physical sciences. And I really like the word intuitive because everybody's intuitive.
Absolutely.
And it takes it more into that physics realm rather than the woo-woo realm.
Absolutely, the energy realm rather than the mysterious realm. Absolutely.
Yeah, I kind of, Victor, I just want to demystify it because, the information is available in the universe. It's out there for all of us all the time to pick up on. And I teach courses on this too. And I have the Intuitive Messenger Boot Camp. It's a one-day workshop where by the end of the day, people are doing readings for each other. It is just a hoot. And these are people that have never done readings before ever because it's that easy. It's that easy to learn.
And what a wonderful transition to say that you're listening to Vision Quest, and our wonderful guest tonight is Terry J. And Terry, let our listeners know how they can find about you and your work and your services.
The best way to get me is on my website, which is just www.terrijay.com, or you can call me at 775-849-2727, but don't call me right now. And the only thing is, remember, I'm on Pacific time, so my New York clients wait until 8 a.m. to call me, and it's still 5 a.m. here.
Oh, God. Well, I have a question for you. I'm sure you get a lot of, speaking with animals, animal spirit, you must get some crazy messages. Could you share some of the more maybe outlandish messages you've gotten from animals?
The things that they tell me are so specific. I always say I can't make this SHIT up because it's just too bizarre. I have a very, very spoiled pony. She's a Haflinger, and she comes to the back door and she screams in my window at 5:30 in the morning. And our neighbor got some new dogs, and it was so bizarre because I was in the front yard and the dogs were barking at her, and of course she was standing just out of reach of them. And she comes over, and the first thing she tells me, and of course it's all mental, is those dogs are assholes, just like that.
I like that. You had a follow-up, Victor?
Terry, yeah, this is something that I've always wondered about other people who have intuitive sense about animals. Animals don't think in words. They think in pictures and thought forms. But I've noticed that whenever I've connected with an animal, especially dogs, I actually hear words rather than see visual images. How do you feel about that?
Oh, absolutely, Victor. I agree with you 100% because they have lots and lots and lots of words. And my horse will always ask me when I give her something to eat, she'll always say, how sound is kind of how she asks me, what do you call that? And I'll repeat the word. And it's almost like I can hear her at the back door going, oatmeal, 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 because that's her bedtime snack, and she gets a handful of dry oatmeal.
Nice.
And, so they do know words. It was really funny. We had a horse come in for my handicap riding program one time, and the owner said, now, the weird thing about this horse is it doesn't eat carrots. And I said, well, we're just going to have to fix that. And anyway, so I finally would break a carrot and hand it to him, and then I would just stick it in his mouth. They have a place in their mouth where there's no teeth on the side. That's where the bit sits. And I would just take a little piece of carrot and put it in his mouth and tell him, chew, chew. And I'd say, sweet, sweet. Give him the feeling of something sweet. It was so funny. It was so funny because he would say, it was like he was going, this is delicious. And afterward, his word for carrot was to hear the snap of a carrot and then show someone handing it to him. And he's eaten carrots ever since.
Wow. Jeremy, you had a follow-up? Go ahead.
Actually, I was going to ask her, one of the things that I've always wanted to do is have a therapeutic riding facility for handicap, disabled, Downs. I had a distant cousin that had Downs, and so that's one thing that I would really like to do. So I'd like to talk to you about that after the show.
Oh, absolutely. I did it for 35 years, so I'm a walking compendium of the good, the bad, and the ugly on that.
You started when you were 4 years old? That's so wonderful.
Oh, Victor, you have to marry me with all those compliments.
He is a sweet talker. You better watch out. You'll get a cavity. Every woman he talks to comes out with 2 or 3 cavities. Trust me.
There you go.
But Terry, I have a question from our station manager, Denny, and he had a dog, Chico, for 13 years. And he wants to know, if his dog got passed on, is he okay, or is he still suffering? Is he still suffering, or is he okay?
Well, first of all, it feels to me like he's got that dog back in a new physical form.
Oh, really?
It feels like that dog came right back. So if he got another dog right after that one died.
He did.
Yeah.
Denny, why don't you come on the air real quick with us, if you don't mind?
Okay, guys.
Okay, well, you can talk to her about it. This is Denny, Terry.
Hey, Denny. It feels to me like that dog's spirit came right back to you and it's really funny. I can feel that dog. He's going, oh, Denny's high maintenance. Denny needs a lot of he's high maintenance. He needs a lot of attention.
You have no idea how much attention this man craves.
Well,
come on, Denny, is that true? Do you really need that much attention?
No.
Denny, come on, man. Don't lie to us, man. Your appetite for attention is so insatiable.
Wait. Hold on a second. Denny is very, very close with his wife, Tiffany. Maybe it's Tiffany who needs all the attention.
Yes. Yes.
I'm not gonna go there. The other thing too, Danny, that a lot of people have a misconception about, and I really want to clarify this, and if I'm going to say this very respectfully because I know you guys are mediums too, but here's the thing: look at the physics of death. Okay, we're a 99% spiritual being in a 1% physical body, or I joke and call it a meat suit. Okay, when we leave our physical bodies behind, we return to being pure positive energy. Now, only the pure positive energy can go to the other side to be one with Source, okay? So everything negative gets shed off and left behind. So if you pick up something negative, pain, suffering, anger, fear, bad memories, if you pick up something negative from a deceased person, you're dumpster diving.
Interesting.
Because everyone goes on. And here's the thing: there's another medium who had a television show, and he was in Reno, and I got to go backstage and meet him. And as soon as I walked back there, he started scanning me, and I called him on it. And so we were just yippee yapping, and he asked if I had read his book. And was
it James Van Praagh?
Well, I have to say the title of the book, so that'll kind of give it away.
Okay.
And the book was called Unfinished Business. And I mean, I couldn't help myself. I made a face. I said, what? Like that. And he said, yeah, it's about people who can't cross over because they have unfinished business. And I said, there is no such thing. And I mean, his manager got up and his mouth fell open. And I explained to him what I just explained to you, that when we tune into stuck negative energy, we're dumpster diving. We're rooting around in the garbage that a spirit has left behind because it's not a vibrational match to God or Source on the other side. It can't go to the other side. So no pain, no suffering, no negative thoughts, no negative feelings. Nothing negative can go to the other side. Anyway, I explained this whole thing, the physics of it to him, and he said, but I just wrote a book about it.
Yeah. It's like stepping out of your shadow and leaving the shadow behind.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know who wrote the book Unfinished Business, but I'm getting the message that it's James Van Praagh, and if it is James Van Praagh, and I got a very strong feeling that it is. I met that man about it's got to be about maybe 7 years ago he was doing this big thing at the Omega Institute, a 3-day seminar, and I went, and I got to tell you, I was very impressed with him. I'm not impressed with a lot of the psychics out there, but I was so impressed with this man. He actually called me out of a group of 200 people and brought me up on stage and actually started telling people what I do with the whole exorcism and healing and the different things that I do that a lot of other media don't do. And it was him who gave me the, I would say, I don't know how to put it, maybe the balls to really do what I do. He signed a book for me, and somebody robbed it from that seminar. And I went to him and I said, somebody robbed the book you signed for me. And he goes, well, who did it? I said, well, I don't know. He goes, what are you talking about? He goes, you're probably the most psychic person in this whole group. You know who did it. Now concentrate, and you tell me who did it. So I concentrated, and I scanned that room, and he goes, you're getting close. You're getting close. And I said, it's the heavy-set woman over there with her hair up in a bun. He goes, now go get your book. And I'll be damned if she didn't have my book, if she didn't steal my book. And it was at that moment that I knew that I could really do, I could actually be good at what I do. And he actually gave me the incentive to put myself out there and to call somebody out and use my psychic ability to do it. And I'll always be very, very grateful to that man. And that's my James Van Praagh story.
Just a quick share. I saw James Van Praagh many years ago here in New York doing a gallery reading before about 1,000 people in the New York Center. And my wife and I were in the second row from the front. And I see energy, and I noticed that as he was about to read or bring messages to someone, this huge purple vacuum appeared behind him. It was just amazing, like a cloud of purple light, and little sparks would shine and flash within this huge purple cloud. And I didn't say anything to my wife, and afterwards I said to her, did you happen to notice anything when Van Prague was reading? And she saw the exact same thing. And for me, that was the nail, that this is the man who's doing this, and that he's doing it honestly and openly and truly. And it was a very special thing to actually see.
Well,
yeah, you have to remember, you guys, I'm not criticizing or judging. It's just let's take the woo-woo out of this.
Right.
Let's get it based in physics. And if you're picking up something negative on a dead person, you are rooting around in their trash. I feel so bad because it actually, if we go forward with that kind of a thing, that kind of belief that some people don't cross over, it opens the door for charlatans, and the charlatans can then say, oh, your loved one hasn't crossed, and for $5,000 I can get them across for you.
Yep,
and I know people that, there's a lady just south of where I live that just got arrested for doing that very thing. And so the thing is most of the time when people want a medium reading, the first question they ask me is, did they make it? And especially about their pets. And I go, how could they not? They're returning to being the same energy they came from. They can't not make it.
Jeremy, can you get Kathy's question, please?
Yes, I can. We have a question from Kathy in the chat room. She says, how do you explain reincarnation and living in this lifetime with old junk from our previous lives?
Well, I think what my experience has been is that a lot of times when we're on the other side, everything's, unicorns and rainbows. It's all wonderful. But the thing is that we all have a V8 moment when we pass, when we smack our forehead and go, oh, I could have done things differently. And as soon as we had those feelings, then we're on to happy times when we're on the other side. So sometimes we think, you know what, I want more challenges when I come forward in this life. And so we'll bring those, through to our next incarnation. We're evolving as a species. So to think that we only just, are born and get educated and grow and accumulate stuff and die and lose it all, it just seems like such a huge waste. We want to keep coming back and experiencing it again and again because, truthfully, the other side is just happy, happy, happy. That gets a little boring after a while. It just kind of is. So that's why people choose to come back.
We have another question from Lisa in our chat room. She said when her cat died and her niece's cat moved in, that the cat that moved in took on some of the traits of the cat who had transitioned. What do you think about that?
Oh, that's a really good question. That's a walk-in. And walk-ins happen all the time with pets because a lot of times, we'll put our dog down on Tuesday and we can't stand how quiet the house is. So on Thursday, we go to the shelter and get a puppy. And the puppy comes home and acts like it owns the place and, just goes and does all the same things it did when it was in its last body. And that's a walk-in. So that does happen a lot.
I have a question from somebody who's listening on the phone, sent me a message, and she wants to know, and this is an interesting question because this happens to me all the time with spirits. So I'm interested to hear what you have to say about this. She wants to know, this is from Jessica, can pets that pass come to you years later and ask you to tell something to someone that they love? I think that's a great question. For me, it happens all the time. Unfortunately, there are times where I can't get in contact with the people that they want me to get in contact with. So how does that work for you?
I'd have to know the exact circumstances on that because when you're doing this work, you've got to have an on switch and an off switch. Otherwise, you get inundated all the time. I walk around like I've got poor self-esteem because I don't want to make eye contact with anyone because if I make eye contact, I know everything about them, and it's overwhelming. But when you get into that situation where, years later you have an animal come to you, I would say my feeling on this is that this is actually something bigger than that animal coming and saying something. It feels to me more like the animal is reincarnated repeatedly and is saying more, not just that I love you, but I'm back, I'm with you. It feels to me more like that. I could be wrong, but it feels to me more like, because our animals will keep coming back to us over and over and over again if we allow for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think of the question in the chat room?
Which one?
The
Lisa's?
From Lisa, yeah.
Lisa also wants to know, what do you think about the world coming to an end?
You mean for me?
Yes.
I think you're always going to have doomsayers. You're always going to have people who believe the world's going to come to an end, and I just feel sorry for people that think that. There's so many people on this planet that are focusing on the health of the planet and the goodness of man. You know, read the book Power versus Force, where it shows that, you know, one person just being a happy, positive person counterbalances the negativity of 90,000 people. And there's so many people out there that are making changes. All we hear about in the news is the negative stuff. So
and I think, I'm sorry, Lisa. I'm sorry, Terry, go ahead.
I just think that, you know, fear sells. You know, fear sells. So if you can keep a group of people afraid, you know, you can get rich doing it. It's just sick.
By the same token, if we think about it, nothing ever really comes to an end. Things change, but they never end. And I think in terms of the world coming to an end, it would not be a bad thing if the world and the poverty, the hunger, the hatred came to an end, and a new world or a changed world of love and compassion would emerge from that. So, you know, that's not a bad thing if there is a change, and I welcome the change for one. Chris, you had a follow-up?
I do. You know, she was talking about how people could, you know, put positive energy out there and then change the world for the better. We have a friend who's been on our show many times, on Vision Quest at least once, and on Second Sight probably 5 times. His name is Stephen Popiatek. He's known as the Cosmic Shaman. And what he does is he gets really like-minded people together, very powerful, strong-minded people, and they do what he calls warrior meditation, where they get together and he does a meditation to make the world a better place, to bring more love into the world, to try and end the crap that's going on in the Middle East, you know, and they get together and they do these amazing meditations, and you know, and people are doing that all over the world. And I think if more people, you know, bought into that, and I don't think many people do, but I think if more people bought into that, I think it would make a huge difference, because when so much positive energy is being put out there, I mean, the results are infinite as far as I'm concerned.
There's a number of meditation groups, including transmission meditation, Raja Yoga, etc., that are actually doing that. The idea being that if enough people of like mind got together and started projecting positive energy, that effective change could be made in the world. And I firmly believe in that, and I'm hoping for that myself.
It really does make a difference. I mean, if you really want to read that book, Power versus Force, it makes a huge impact. The other thing, though, too, is that, you know, this is a physical Earth. You know, it's a physical universe, but it's not all there is. We're a spiritual being. So our time here is short, and it's, you know, it's temporary, and we go back to being a spiritual being. So I think if something happened to the Earth, we'd all be happy campers on the other side. It wouldn't make any difference.
Absolutely.
All right, take the next question, Jeremy.
Comas, dementia, strokes, persistent vegetative states. All
Jeremy, no, none of your personal problems now. Come on.
How did you find out that you could communicate with all of these people?
Oh, it was just one of those cases where I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. And somebody knew about me and asked me to go to talk to her husband, who was declared brain dead at the hospital. And that was, the first time was a very, very challenging one, because this guy was out of his body but attached. He'd been declared brain dead, but he was having all these reflexive movements where his legs were moving, his hands were moving. They had him tied, his hands tied down, and he was, his eyes were moving, his head was moving, and it was really hard because I could hear him over my shoulder wisecracking and making jokes, and he was really a funny guy. And he was yelling things like, pull the plug, and, it was all I could do to maintain a professional demeanor. But that was my first time, and once you know it's possible, because he was telling me all kinds of things about his life. It was just like doing a medium reading, just as if he had already passed, only he still had connection to the negativity in his life, the fact that, he had this stroke and which is pretty much what killed him. And so it was very interesting to get sort of both perspectives, because he technically wasn't dead. And it just sort of evolved from there. So a lot of people know that I do that. I only know one other person in the United States that does it. I don't know if you guys do that.
Well, I was just going to say, I found that I could do that. And I haven't done it in quite some time, but when I was married, living in Brooklyn, I was doing that quite often. I was going to hospitals, and I was talking to people that were in comas and brain dead, and it amazed me that they would give me messages, because, this was in my first coming out as a psychic medium and all, and it just kind of blew me away that they were giving me such clear, precise messages, and they were in comas, and they hadn't passed yet. It just kind of blew me away. And I got to tell you, I got so much satisfaction out of being able to give people messages. I remember this one girl, she's a friend of mine on Facebook. Her dad went into a coma, and I went to the hospital. I was doing healing work with him, and this is the first time it happened to me. And he just started talking to me, and I said, and for a second it kind of threw me off. I'm not going to lie to you, because I didn't realize it was him talking to me. I was doing hands-on healing with crystals with the man, and all of a sudden he just started yapping, and I mean so clearly. And I said, listen, I can't remember the girl's name, but I said, I think your father's giving me messages. And she says, well, how's that possible? I said, honestly, I don't know. Again, this was when I was a younger medium, and I really didn't know that much back then. And I just started giving this girl messages, and she was blown away by that, and I was blown away by it. It shocked the hell out of me. I didn't think it was possible, and I'm here to tell you that it absolutely is possible, and it's very, very rewarding when you can give somebody a message, because and the man died shortly after that, maybe about 2 weeks after he actually passed away, and I channeled him about 3 weeks after he passed, and he gave more messages. But so I actually got messages from the man when he was living and when he had passed, which I thought was a pretty cool thing.
I think it's really fascinating to be able to do that. I was down on the beach walking my dogs, and a gal called me because she had set up an appointment to talk to her dad who was in a coma that night. And she said, Terry, Dad passed. Do we have to wait? And I said, no. I said, absolutely not. And I said, I'll give you a call, when I get back home. And I said, but very, very strongly, your dad is saying rainbows. And she just burst into tears because that was so significant in her life with him, just that little word. And I said, so, we got him, no problem. People think that you have to wait or that they go through some initiation or, and it's just not that way at all.
One of the services that I perform as an interfaith minister has been working with people in hospice families and hospice in assisting in transition and creating a sacred space for the family members to say goodbye, especially to those who are in a coma or unconscious. And the interesting thing is the first family that I was called to do this for was my own. My aunt had been in a coma. She was in her 90s and had fallen hit her head. And I visited her in the hospital. My cousin had called me saying that the doctors had told her that it was very soon that my aunt would transition, and that she wanted me to come up and give her an assistance in terms of planning the funeral and such. And when I went up there, we stood around her bedside, and I immediately got a message from her that she was waiting for something. And I said to my cousin, did she express a desire for something prior to this last fall and her going into a coma? And she said, it's funny, the family had been a non-observant Jewish family, and she said she had longed to go back to a synagogue, to a temple. And I said to my cousin, I haven't done this in many, many years, but would it be okay if I chanted some Jewish prayers for her? And she said, of course, and I did that. And after doing so, we had a sense that there was a sense of peace around her, and I said to my cousin, I think it's time for everyone here, all the cousins, to gather around and spend a few minutes privately with her and give her final messages. And after everything was said and done, we circled around the bed, and everybody beamed love to her, and within a few minutes, she stopped breathing and her soul transitioned. And it was such a beautiful, beautiful experience.
That's wonderful when it can happen. It's really funny you bring that up, Victor, but when my animals die, I automatically do the mourner's Kaddish. Automatically. I mean, I don't tear my clothes, but otherwise it would get expensive, as many animals as I had. But I automatically do the mourner's Kaddish. It just gives me such peace. It's amazing.
That's beautiful. For those of our listeners who don't know, the mourner's Kaddish is the Jewish prayer for the transition of the dead. And the Kaddish itself, it's strangely enough, it has nothing to do with death or transition or mourning. It has to do with a desire for peace and harmony in the world. So it's a very beautiful thing.
It's also praising God, too.
And praising God, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, Victor, we're about to go to break.
Yeah, I think we have about 2 minutes coming up on the hour. So, Terry, please tell our listeners once again how they can get in touch with you and find out about your services, and we're going to continue with you in the second hour.
Through my website is the best way. It's www.terrijay.com.
All right, beautiful. So what do you think? You want to take a 5-minute break, guys?
Yeah, why don't we do that? He's psychic medium Chris George. He's Jeremy Moonshine and Beard tonight, Adams. I'm Victor, the voice firm, and our guest is the wonderful Terry J. You're listening to us on Vision Quest on DTMWickedRadio.com, and we will be back.
Hello? Hello? Who's that? Whoa! Water! From the bed. I do believe in spooks. I do believe in spooks.
We are back. Welcome back to hour number 2 of Vision Quest. I'm psychic medium Chris George, and I'm joined by Victor the Voice Fuhrman and Duck Dynasty Jeremy Moonshine Adams and our wonderful guest, wonderful guest Terry J.
She is awesome.
She really is, and I pretty much agree with everything she says, so that makes me like her even more. And we just found out that she has a little funny bone going because she made a funny about Jeremy, but we won't go there. And just want to say that we're very happy to have her here tonight. She's been a phenomenal guest for the first hour, and I'm really looking forward to this second hour. So I don't even know where we left off. We were all over the place that first hour. So okay, so Jeremy, why don't you hit it off?
All right. How can you do readings by phone, and how is this possible?
It's just like I've been sharing. This is all energy, and I feel like a big cell phone tower. I receive information, and where it's appropriate, I share it back. And I don't do police work because it's too yucky, and I got in trouble one time doing it. And
Wait. You got to tell us about this now.
Oh, okay. It's a pretty funny story, but I also don't answer unethical questions, and the unethical questions are about death. When is somebody going to die? How are they going to die? Pregnancies versus children. I don't talk about that. Who am I going to marry? When am I going to get married? How many times am I going to be married? Those things are never in somebody's best interest. And I don't do predictions. But everything else goes. What happened is we had a double homicide here in Reno, Nevada. And I just went to the chiropractor. And when I was at the chiropractor's office, he said, "Hey, you getting anything on that double homicide?" And I just thought for a minute and grounded and just rattled off a bunch of stuff. And he said, "Okay." So I get home, and there's the sheriff ready to arrest me.
Oh, wow.
They said, do you know?
I'm sorry.
They said, "Do you know these people?" And I said, "No, I don't know who you're talking about." And he said, "You have information about their murder." And I said, "I do?" And they said, "Do you know this guy?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, that's my chiropractor." And they said, "Well, you told him some information that wasn't made public." And I went, "Oh, well, he just asked me about it." Well, come to find out, he was best friends with the adult children of the couple. So I was hauled off to downtown, and once they figured out that I was just intuitive and was picking up information about it. But I worked on that case for a little while, but it was not fun feeling like a suspect, I can tell you that.
I have a story I could share, but, I actually met Jeremy through helping him help from, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation.
Yeah,
that's how I met him, and they actually made me feel like a piece of crap, and really soured me to helping the police, to tell you the truth. They were pretty nasty to me. Wouldn't you think, Jeremy?
Yeah, the one guy was nice, but the other guy was being a total dick, man. Because when he called Chris, this is exactly how it happened. The cop, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, the agent there called Chris, and as soon as Chris said hello, the agent said, "You know who this is," and he started playing games, disrespecting Chris from the get-go, and it pissed me off, and I know it pissed him off.
That's
because
terrible.
He told me, Chris told me 6 hours before the TBI told the family, because my grandparents were killed in a fire, and the two kids, my two little cousins, weren't in the fire. They're missing. They can't be found. They brought the 9/11 dogs down. They searched for the ashes for over a month. They didn't find a tooth, anything, yet they found a parakeet and a damn 10-pound dog. And Chris tried to, I called him. I found out Monday morning. I called him Tuesday, and I explained to him everything. He's like, "Jeremy, those kids aren't in the fire. They weren't in the fire." And I'm like, "No, dude, you don't understand. The whole house it had a full basement. It fell in on itself. He's like, no, the kids were not in the fire. And 6 hours later, I find out the kids weren't in the fire, and that's when they called and told the family. So, and Chris tried to help with that. I ended up being accused of murder and kidnapping, and, from the whole family and all. It's just a big damn mess is what it is. So
that's terrible.
Well,
sharing about the long distance and doing things over the phone and the energy of it all. When I was in the United States Air Force in 1975, 1976, and I was stationed in Korea at the time. And I remember one morning thinking to myself, there's something wrong with my mother. Now, I hadn't had any indication. I hadn't spoken to anyone, hadn't gotten any letters. And I just knew there was something wrong with my mother. So I called back to New York, and it was the previous night in New York. And simultaneously, my mother and sister picked up extension phones. And I said, Mom, what's wrong? And my sister goes, oh, my God, how did he find out? And it turned out that she was going in the following day for major surgery. As it turned out, everything was fine. But the concept of time and space has no application when it comes to energy.
It doesn't, and that's what people don't get. They don't, and I really love getting into the physics of this rather than just let's continue all being woo-woo. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's funny. There's a quote that I often reference, and I originally thought it was Einstein who said it, and it wasn't Einstein, and I can't find out who said it. But it said that one day the crossroads of science and spirituality would meet, and on that day we would know the mind of God. And I love that quotation so much. And it's true. Everything that we talk about in terms of paranormal is just something that science hasn't got the instruments to detect yet. That's all it is.
Well, that's why I don't even like the word psychic. I mean, a lot of people use it, and when I tell people I'm intuitive, they always say, you mean you're a psychic? And I go, well,
right.
Yeah. Because they understand that word, but they don't understand the intuitive word.
It's funny, Terry. You and I are so much alike in that regard that I don't like to use the word psychic for myself. I say intuitive or empath, and it's so true.
Yeah, absolutely.
The thing is there's been so much bad publicity with the word psychic that nobody trusts it.
Right.
And just like I told Chris, when I met Chris, I told him, I said, I hate psychics. And, I still do. But I hate the bad ones. I hate the ones that, take advantage of, of people. Oh, hey, bring me $2,000 and these gemstones, and I'll put a curse on your son to where, y'all will get along better. People like, that do shit like that is what pisses me off.
Well, there's charlatans in every business. It's not
Absolutely.
just this field. It's this field you hear a lot about it because people are so vulnerable when they come to us. They're so vulnerable, and they're bearing their souls to us. And they feel naked in front of us.
Absolutely.
That's the only reason I called Chris is because I was vulnerable. And I just wanted to snuggle up in his big arms. It's what it is. I'm sorry.
And Jeremy, be honest. You wanted to be naked in his presence. Come on, Jeremy. Be honest about it.
I just had to get that off my chest.
There's a funny cartoon that's been appearing on Facebook recently. It shows a storefront medium sitting at a table with a client. And she's reading the crystal ball and says to him, you're going to be defrauded out of a large amount of money very soon. And the client goes, thank you. How much do I owe you?
I like that one. It's really good.
Terry, you said that you felt like you were being interrogated when you were speaking with cops. I could relate to that completely. Years ago, my grandma was in the hospital, and I could only get to her late at night, and the nurses were nice enough to let me go see her like 11 o'clock at night, way up the hours. And I went to visit her, and I was on my way home to my family, and I saw that there was some kind of car and cop commotion going on, but for whatever reason, I kept going. It wasn't a smart move on my part. Anyway, so now I get caught in all this traffic, and before I know it, there's a girl sitting next to me. And she says to me, I just died in that car up there. And I was like, oh, God. Now she wants to talk to me. And here it is, like midnight, maybe 1 a.m, and she's telling me what's going on. Cop is walking by my car, and I said, look at him, I said, suicide, huh? And he goes, well, why would you say that? I said, and he goes, step out of the car, please. Now, I had to explain to this cop how I knew it was a suicide. So what happened was the girl was actually helping me out. She was telling him that there's a phone underneath the passenger seat. So they went and looked, and they found the phone underneath the passenger seat. She said, go to where it says Mom. That's my house number. They called the house. They called Mom. It was the house number. The parents came down. She went on to tell me how she was an Italian girl. She was in love with a black guy, and the parents would never, ever, they were old school Italian. They would not accept it. So she killed herself. She killed herself because of this, and it's a horrible thing. But now the police are all questioning me, and they were like, well, did you know the girl? I'm like, no, I have no idea who she is, but I could tell you what she looks like. I mean, she's standing right next to me talking to me. They must have thought I was crazy. So they're like, well, do you have a business card? I said, yeah, I do. So I started looking in my wallet, and for the life of me, I couldn't find a friggin' business card. It was driving me out of my mind. Finally, I find one that I hid it. I don't even know why, but I hid it. I pull it out. Make a long story short, I gave a few messages for the parents, whatever. They leave with the cops, and now I get all these cops surrounded me. They sort of call me the Great Kruskin, being very disrespectful. And if you don't know about New York cops, I mean, a lot of them are very nice, but a lot of them, they could be pieces of work, And they were challenging me. And one guy especially kept calling me the Great Kruskin. He was telling me, come on, Mr. Psychic, tell me something. And then I got it. It just came to me. And his friend said to me, just tell him something, he'll leave you alone. I said, I just want to go home to my family. They were like, well, could you give us something? I said, okay, can I tell you anything? And the cop said, yes, you could tell me anything. I said, all right, your wife is in bed with your best friend. The spirit's telling me it's a fireman, and she's with him right now. As a matter of fact, I see her legs pointing straight up. He said, excuse me? I said, give your wife a call. I guarantee you she's with your best friend. Next thing I know, his friend, who was the cop who told me, tell him whatever I had to tell him, said, I told you your wife was cheating on you, but it comes to be. So I get out of there. I leave. He still has my business card. He calls me a couple days later, and he says, where are you? I said, I'm in Manhattan. I'm thinking to myself, oh, God, now what kind of trouble did I get myself into now? He shows up in Manhattan where I was on 51st Street and 5th Avenue, right by St. Patrick's Cathedral, and says to me, how much do you get paid for what you do? And I said, well, I gave him a number, and he says, you're worth it. He put his hand out his car window, handed me the money, and he said, thank you so much. You have no idea what you did for me, and he drove off. So that's my story about that, where they question you and they make you feel like you're like you've done something wrong, and it's unfortunate that they treat us like that.
Well, that's why I don't do police work at all. I mean, I really don't. I had a really weird one the other day. It was a gal, and I had read for both of her dogs, and I told her, I said, now, when these dogs get close, you need to put them both down. Don't make them suffer and die. And she said, oh, no, I can't do that. And I said, it's your responsibility to euthanize your animals just as much as it is to take care of them. She says, well, we'll see. So both of the animals passed within 2 days of each other, and she called me, and she wanted me to share with her how their transition was. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And she said, why? And I said, because they both suffered. And you never even say that to a person, because I always want to, give them the uplifting stuff. And she said, oh, no, they didn't suffer. I said, you had 2 dogs that had no pain medication that died without being euthanized? She said, well, yes, it was very nice. And I said, I'm not helping you. I'm refunding your money, because I think that's inhumane what she did. And I really try not to judge people or situations. I really try never to judge. But all I could see was those 2 dogs as puppies and full of piss and vinegar and just full of life on the other side. And she wants me to go dredge up their passing and their transition. And I said, no, it's way too painful for me to do that. So, people just don't understand how wonderful it is once we're on the other side, and how it's pretty tough getting there sometimes.
What services do you offer your clients?
That's a fact.
I pretty much do readings of all types. I do energy healing. I do workshops. I do shows. I just had a very successful show at the Atlantis Hotel, Casino, and Spa in Reno in February. This was really fun. I did 28 people, 28 individual readings in an hour and 45 minutes. And one of my staff said I had 79 positive hits.
Wow. Wow.
That was a lot.
Was that exhausting for you?
That show was, because this is going to sound really funny. You'll get this, Victor. But the thing is that I had a lavalier mic, but I had a hand mic for the people that I was reading. So they would come up and I would hold the hand mic, and they kept backing away from the mic. And, it's got to be about 2 to 4 inches away from their mouth. Well, they kept backing away, so I had to keep pulling them back toward the mic. That exhausted me because I was having physical contact with them, and that exhausted me because then they were in my field, I was in their field, and I almost collapsed when I was done with that show.
When you do healing work, do you find that you bring the healing through you rather than from you, so it actually energizes you as you're doing the work?
Oh, I love doing healing work. I'm sure you do too. But
yeah, absolutely.
It's a gas. And when I'm doing it, I'm actually coaching the person so they're doing the healing themselves. Because that's what I'm all about, is empowerment. Right. I want them to become empowered. And so I actually just coach them to do it.
Wonderful.
All right, well, you have some amazing testimonials from all over the world. People being healed from terminal cancer, people being healed from communicating with loved ones who have passed, pets being healed from debilitating conditions. How is it possible to do such varied readings with such incredible results?
Well, it just goes back to what we've been talking about. It's just energy. We only have 2 emotions. We have love, which is the highest vibration possible. That's what the God vibration is. And then we have fear, which is the lowest vibration. And so by just staying in that high love vibration, giving unconditional love to my clients and not going into judgment, then anything can happen. Miracles can happen. And the biggest thing when you do this work, as you guys know, is to just stay out of your own way. You have to stay out of your own way. That's all there is to it.
Do people ask you questions that you don't want to answer, and then they're so persistent that you give in and actually give them the answers? And before you answer that, I want to say there are times when people ask me questions and I get and I tell people, don't ask me a question you don't want to know the answer to. I can't promise you I'm going to get the answer, but if I do, I'm going to give it to you. And then there are times, people will ask me questions and I get the answer, and I almost wrestle with myself on whether I should give them the answer, whether I should tell them that I got it or not, because there are times I just think it will hurt the person, and then I have to come to the realization that it's not my choice. It's Spirit's choice. If Spirit thought enough to give me the answer, I feel that I have to respect that enough to give the answer. So that's how I feel on it. And I've given messages that I absolutely didn't want to deliver, that I felt horrible about giving, but I've done it. And I got to say, for the most part, I think people appreciate that. I think people come because they want to hear the truth. I think people want to hear lies, too. I think people want to hear everything to be, peaches and cream and roses and, wonderful. It's just not that way all the time. Well, what do you do in a situation like that when you get a message that you really don't want to deliver? Do you give the message? How do you go about it?
Well, it's like you said, if one of your clients is asking a question, 99.9% of the time you're going to be given the answer. But I always follow the adage, first do no harm. And there's a lot of times when I'm told the information, but then my guides will tell me, no, and they'll tell me, no, don't share that information. And, you know, if you go into ego, remember, ego means easing God out. And too many times when we do this work, it's like we want to be right. We want to have that information. We want to give that little tidbit. And it is not in the person's best interest to have it. So in a lot of cases like that, I absolutely, I'll say, no, that's unethical. A lot of times I'll just say that's unethical. Now, there's also been times when I'm given wrong information. I know it's wrong information, and my guides tell me, tell them, and you're just thinking, really? And I'll go ahead and I'll tell them the wrong information. And sure enough, a couple weeks later, I get a call from the client, and they go, hey, you know that reading you did for me? I go, yeah, that you were the one that I was told to give the wrong information. And they went, you knew it was wrong? And I said, yeah. I said, but you had a positive outcome, didn't you? And they'll go, yeah, wait till I tell you what happened, because they had the wrong information.
Hey, you know what, guys? 818-431-8214 is a call-in number if you would like to speak to this amazing woman, Terry J. 818-431-8214.
Terry, you have so many amazing and wonderful things that you do. What projects are you presently working on?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I've got one book on my website that teaches you how to do all of the things that I do. It's called Intuitive Messenger Boot Camp, and that's an ebook. I do workshops. I do medium parties. I do energy healing workshops where everybody gets energy healing done. I'm working on 3 national TV shows. So, you know, that's like a shotgun. You just got to keep at it until one of them fires. And then I'm also doing shows at casinos, which I absolutely love. Those are so fun.
When you say at casinos, you're talking about in a theater in front of a large group of people?
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's really
wonderful.
fun. I love doing that. That's a hoot.
Wonderful.
That's a lot of fun.
What'd you say, Chris?
I said that's a lot of fun. I did that. We have a. I don't know if you've ever seen the show Impractical Jokers. It's like a prank show, and they were doing pranks, and they needed somebody to come in as a real psychic and put on a show for them, because they were doing a show with a fake psychic before me, and you know, they had the fake psychic going up there and telling people the craziest things, and then they had me come up, and I was only supposed to be up there for 20 minutes. You know, I had to come out there and say, well, if you guys haven't figured it out yet, you know, these are the Impractical Jokers from the TV show, and Sal is not a real psychic, and I am a real psychic, and I'm here to give you guys readings. So I went up on stage for 20 minutes. I wound up being up there for a little bit more than an hour and a half, and it was just absolutely wonderful. And I find it to be probably the most fun psychic thing that I've done. I love getting up in front of people and doing that. So I could absolutely relate to what you're saying.
You meet such amazing people, and the big thing that I do differently, I don't know if you do or not, but the big thing that I do differently is when you go to a lot of the medium shows, you're not allowed to say a word as an audience member. You can either just say yes or no, or I'm not sure. But I allow the clients that I'm doing the reading for, I allow them to say why something was important and why it was pertinent. And so the whole audience knows if it was a hit and why. And it makes it so much more interesting. You know, there's a lot of, mediums that do parties and shows that they're afraid that, people will think that it was all, staged or something. And it's just not. It's not. You can't make it up. It's too specific.
You're listening to Vision Quest.
Well, you know what
I'm sorry. Let me do the break, Chris, and then you can go ahead. You're listening to Vision Quest on the DTM Wicked Radio Network. Our wonderful guest tonight is Terry J. And Terry, please tell our listeners how they can find out more about you and your services.
My website is www.terrijay.com.
Wonderful, thank you.
Well, what I was going to say is when I did my hour and a half for the Impractical Joke, is what I did was I brought people up on stage. I told them, okay, you come on up here, and I would give a reading. And then what I did was when I first started doing radio, I I used to do a thing called rapid readings, and it's where I would pick 10 people and give them a 1 or 2 line reading really quick and do it on the show. What I did was I brought people up on stage, about 10 people, and I did rapid readings for those people on stage because I think it's really it's spontaneous. You know, you can't make that up, and people are impressed by it. And I thought that was probably the best thing I did on stage, is bringing people up and having them become part of the show and giving them a voice, and they loved it. Being interactive like that.
Oh yeah, you've got to get the audience involved, and that's why I've been to everybody else's shows because they come to Reno. Reno's a big city, and there's lots of venues here, and so I've seen everybody else's shows, and oh my God, it's like watching cement dry.
Terry, I've got a quick question for you. Follow up on that. When you're in a casino, the energy, and I'm not knocking the industry, but the energy of gamblers, especially people who are compulsive or who are in desperation and gamble because of that, do you pick up on that?
I really have to have my guides protect me when I go into that kind of environment. But I have to do the same thing when I go into Walmart, so it's pretty much the same.
Have you ever seen the videos on YouTube called The People of Walmart?
Oh God, I have to wear Depends if I watch those.
Well, you said you've written a couple books teaching everybody how to do what you do. Do you have any star pupils that have stood out over the years? Or
oh yeah, you betcha. You bet. I've got 2 that that I communicate with on a regular basis, and they're good. There's more than that. It's really weird, but one of my mentors is a very well-known Hay House author, and I'd go, hello, don't lie to a freaking psychic. And she would call me and she'd go, can you look at something? And I'd go, yeah, sure. And she'd say, okay, so this is what I got going on. What do you think about this? This is what I was getting. Or she'd say, what are you getting on this? And I'd go, well, this is what I'm getting. And she'd go, that's what I was getting. And I could hear my guides just closing their eyes and shaking their head like, no, she wasn't. She wasn't getting shit. So it was really funny because after a while it'd be like, no, you're not getting anything. So anyway, it's just funny.
The image of the image of the great and majestic Anthony Lauria popped into my mind when she said that.
Of the who?
The Anthony. Anthony Lauria.
Well,
Jeremy, who are you saying?
I'm sorry. I said Anthony Lauria. It's the guy we were talking about earlier. It was a joke. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
But I was going to say, I teach psychic development classes, and every now and then I get the pupil that comes in, or the student that comes in that wants to be psychic so bad, and then goes above and beyond to show that they are psychic, but they're making everything up. Like when I teach a class on channeling. Channeling is one of the hardest things to do, trans-channeling for a medium, okay? Especially somebody who's just learning. And then I get like 1 or 2 students who, right off the bat, they're superstars. And I'm like, you can't fool me. Why are you trying? I'm not going to call you out and tell you, in front of the class and say you're faking it. But, I know, and I just don't understand why they do. I guess they want to impress. But it isn't about impressing the teacher. It's about learning to honestly do it. And I don't know why people, try and fake the teacher out, because it's just not going to happen. I mean, I don't know.
It's why the first thing I teach is ego means easing God out. Because we can't have an ego and do this work. We can't have a need to be right. We can't do it just to get attention. It has to be coming from healership. No matter what kind of readings you're doing, it has to come from healership.
Yeah, I agree. So, have you been able to teach? No, do you believe that it's possible for anyone to do what you do?
Yes. I think the only thing that would prevent someone from being able to do it would be if they cannot heal themselves, or if they cannot get rid of their ego. That would be ego's kiss of death in this work.
I love what you just said about ego edging God out. It reminds me of that movie, Mike Myers, The Love Guru, with every word that he took, and he had the definition by letter. He said the guru stood for G, you are you. I love that.
Oh, gee.
It was so funny. And he said, I have a book called Bible, Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth. And it was just really hysterical movie.
Oh,
I guess
God.
for some of us it was hysterical. Terry, let me ask you, what are some of the strangest readings that you've done, and what subjects were involved?
Strange reading. God, they're all strange to me. I think the ones where we start off with a pet, and I'm dealing with a person who's got serious health issues, and they've got serious health issues because they never dealt with their molestation issues as an infant, or a toddler, because they don't even remember it. They have no conscious awareness of it. Those are tough for me, because you don't want to tell someone that, because then you put them in resistance and they'll push against it, and then they'll have it buried even deeper. So some of those are probably the weirdest things. I think one of the most challenging things for me is trying to educate my clients that everybody goes to the other side, nobody's stuck, and everything is, sunshine and rainbows on the other side. Nothing negative is there. That stuff to me it can be really challenging, is because they have so many religious beliefs that are, totally opposite of that.
Absolutely. I just wanted to follow up on that before we move on to the next question. You have so many religions telling you what the afterlife is going to be like, and about goodness and evil and reward and punishment and so on. How do you really work with people to move them from fear to understanding and love?
If they're a dyed-in-the-wool Bible thumper, there's a lot of times there's no way I'm going to convince them of any other way to think or believe. They have what's called cognitive dissonance, mm-hmm. which means that even if you show them facts, like the facts about evolution, they're going to still go to creationism, even though mm-hmm. evolution's been pretty much proven. They mm-hmm. still want to do creationism. You're not going to convince them. You're not going to change their mind. And I think it just comes down to just being respectful. You have to just respect their beliefs, and just share what you can that they will be able to accept. The interesting thing about it is, even when you have someone who's very, very religious, if you tell them something that is opposite of their religious belief, like, okay, my mom died and she swore and she stole things and she was a hooker for part of her life, did she go to hell? And it's like, no, she didn't. And it's like, oh, thank goodness. And that's all you can do is tell them, no, they didn't go to hell.
Yeah, I honestly believe that if you come from a place of love and compassion, whether or not someone agrees with you, they'll go away feeling better about things.
Absolutely. The biggest thing that I know, and I'm sure you guys do this too, is that when you're doing, any kind of mediumship, and you get those little details that there's no freaking way you can make them up, that helps your person to heal right in front of your eyes.
Absolutely.
And that, there's no better way of healing than that.
Well, I have another question for you. I have 6 chickens, 2 ducks, an overweight dog, an obese cat, a one-eyed blind albino rat, and about 7 fish. Are any of them coming through wanting something?
That's like way too many. We'd have to have names and go down the list. The big thing you got to do, Jeremy, is get the fat ones on a diet. Make sure you get blood work on them to make sure that nobody's got Cushing's or thyroid issues, and take them swimming so they can get rid of some of that weight.
Well, they would just float. There's the fat,
All right, Jeremy, take the next question.
All right, hold on, man. My phone locked. Is there a common thread you find working with people with health issues?
Say that again.
Is there a common thread you find working with people with health issues?
I think they're all shocked to find out they've made themselves sick. A lot of people don't want to take responsibility for their own illness. They don't. And I tell them, hey, it's issues in the tissues. And I'll just go down the list, down chakra by chakra, and tell them, hey, that's second chakra stuff, so that's your childhood stuff that you haven't dealt with. And they're not too comfortable with that. They're not too comfortable. They go, I didn't wish for this. And breast cancer, don't get me going on that. Geez, breast cancer awareness causes breast cancer, because it puts women into fear. So instead of just doing a plain old check, they go, oh, my God, I hope I don't find anything. I hope I don't find anything. And because of the way the law of attraction works, the body says, find something. Here you go. Here's something for you. Here's a nice big lump for you. And people don't understand it. Breast cancer is caused by unresolved grief and loss. It's why it's in families. Because, great-grandmother dies of breast cancer because she had a broken heart, and so everybody misses her, and so the next woman down the line misses her, so she can't get over the grief, so she gets breast cancer. It's just, it makes me crazy.
It's interesting that you shared that. I lost a partner to breast cancer in the 90s, and the interesting thing is that her greatest supporter, her cheerleader, was her mom, and her mom died 3 years before she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and there had not been any breast cancer in the family prior to that. And when we went and did a little work together, I said to her, why do you think this happened? She said, I guess the grief for my mother was something I just never got off my chest, and she actually said it that way, just that way.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, and then unfortunately, the cancer had metastasized to her brain, and when we talked about that, she says, I must still have that grief on my mind. And I cried when she said that because it was so true, and just so resonant with what she was going through. And at that time, Louise Hay's book had come out, You Can Heal Your Life, and it's a wonderful book and has a lot of the connection between the programming that we receive and we do and the way it affects our bodies. And for those who have never read that, that's a wonderful book.
There's some really good books out by Greg Braden and even Deepak Chopra has gotten on the bandwagon, and Bruce Lipton. And these guys are really talking about it. They're going, cells respond to emotions.
Absolutely.
And people can go, oh, no, that's a bunch of BS. But, you think about how do you physically feel when you fall in love? Oh, my goodness, you float. You don't even feel like your feet touch the ground. You feel giddy. And then how do you feel when you're grieving? Every cell, every fiber of your being hurts. And so there's a perfect example of how the body responds to emotions.
Absolutely. It's funny that in the 80s, I studied with the Silva mind control people. Are you familiar with that, Terry?
Oh, you bet.
And in Silva mind control, they used to say that you would program, whatever you say becomes a program for your body. So if you say, that woman is a pain in my neck, guess what happens every time you see that woman? You get a pain in your neck. Or this job is killing me. Guess what's going to happen? This job will kill you. It will make you ill. And if you make a statement like that, they teach you to catch it before it gets out and programs you and say, cancel, just as if you were deleting a computer program. And it's so true, and people have to be aware of that.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. The negative self-talk can kill you. It can kill you. And people get all kinds of horrible diseases and horrible diagnoses, and they just assume that that's fact. And I have a lot of people ask me, well, are you anti-allopathic medicine? Allopathic medicine is drugs and surgery. And goodness, no. You know, we need it all. We need all
Absolutely.
of it.
Never instead of, always in addition to.
Absolutely. If we're not going to deal with the emotional cause of disease, you know, then you're not going to be around.
That's it.
I got to say, Victor, this has been a phenomenal show.
Absolutely.
You know, I hope the people listening, you know, realize how good of a guest we have this week. You know, we try every week to bring really good guests on, and for the most part, we succeed. I have to tell you something, Terry. I've thoroughly enjoyed this show. I think you're fantastic. I love the way you answer your questions. So knowledgeable.
No. Let's get down to it. He loves the way that you picked on me when we were off the air. That's why he loves you. Besides the fact that you are amazing, that's the biggest part.
I mean, really, you know, Terry, you think it's easy being the host with these two? It's not easy. No. You don't know what I go through. And with Victor on the other show, he's always putting up a commercial for the show every week, doing something crazy with me, like putting my head on a car or having me get spanked by a hairy woman or whatever. He's always doing something.
Wait a minute. I've never had you spanked by a hairy woman.
That was
a
me.
lot of other things, but never a hairy woman.
That was me that did that one.
Oh, I mean, well, see, they're always doing something to me. I can't even remember who does what to me. I just take it. I'm like a glutton for punishment. I think they think because I'm like a bigger guy that I could take it, but it hurts. It hurts inside, guys.
Chris, you know that it's only done because I love you, and it's also done because it attracts the audience.
Yes, I know.
Okay, alrighty.
But go ahead.
Chris, if you ever come out to Nevada, we'll have to go smoke cigars together.
Oh, you know I smoke cigars.
Hold on. She's good, man.
No. Hold on a second, Terry. You can't do that. Did you get that intuitively, psychically, or did you see a picture?
I saw a picture. The picture on here. You're holding one.
Oh, okay.
Ah, your Facebook picture, your Facebook photo. Not Facebook, Skype photo.
Oh, I don't even know what photo I have. Okay, I guess I'm holding a cigar. Yes, I'm a big cigar smoker, and just so you know, when I was in the Air Force, I went to Las Vegas 13 times to Nellis Air Force Base. I was part of the big William Tell, air competition, which is Top Gun for the Air Force, and I absolutely love Vegas. I'm not a gambler, but I love Vegas. So if I ever get down to Reno, I will absolutely look you up.
And I just want to share that during that time, Chris was where the bullets were the thickest, underneath the ammunition bay. So just remember that, Chris, right?
Oh God, I don't know what to do with you guys anymore. But maybe that's why we do so well together. Victor, why don't you take the next question?
Terry, let us know, does being intuitive affect your personal life, and how does it impact it?
Oh, God, I was hoping this wasn't going to come up. Dating is extremely difficult for me. I mean, it's one thing to be single, and I'm 61, and, I'm a horse nut. But guys are afraid of mind readers for the most part, is what I found. And I keep thinking, wouldn't that come in handy at some point to think, I wish she would just, oh, yeah. Doesn't that make sense?
Absolutely. I got to ask you a question. You're 61. Were you born in 53?
Yes.
As was I. Just out of curiosity, don't give your birthday. What month?
My birthday's the same as Oprah's. I'm a year older than her.
I don't know what is the. I don't know what it is.
January.
What day?
29th.
Oh my! I'm January 17th of that year.
Wow.
See, it's interesting how many people of our group and our generation, and especially people born in that period from 49 to like 56, really were sort of the forebearers of what's going on right now.
Well, I'm honored to be.
Whoa. Time out. Victor, I got to call you out again.
I said forebearers, Chris.
I know you're a happily married man.
What am I doing?
I know you said forebearers, not foreskin, but you are hitting on the guest again.
I am not.
You're hitting on the guest.
I am saying, Chris, I am saying, here is a peer of my generation someone who's had very similar experiences and who now is doing this work. That's all I'm saying.
Well, but okay, that's what you're saying. But being the psychic that I am, I look past the words, and what I hear is Victor the Voice Fuhrman thinks he's got that velvet voice, and he's gonna have our guest, Miss Terry J, fall all over him.
No,
Terry,
he's married.
Terry, don't fall for it. Don't fall for it.
Chris, he's married. I don't fool around with married men.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank God somebody's got some morals on this show.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Chris, when were
you?
But you know what, Chris? I will say, if I were not married, that Terry's the type of person that I would love to be in a relationship with.
You know what, Victor? Victor, it's really funny, but I do have one friend who's he's quite a bit older than me, and he's also very intuitive. He was at Berkeley and, doing all that stuff. And just his appreciation of my ability, to me, is very, very sexy. I'm not looking for a fan club. I'm not looking for someone who goes, wow, you're wonderful. But he appreciates the little nuances of my abilities. That is really, really sexy.
Absolutely.
It really is. Somebody who's comfortable with it and not afraid of it and can just roll with it.
Absolutely.
Well, I have to say, you said that, I think you said that you're 61, Terry?
Uh-huh.
Okay, well, I'm going to be 46, and I love older women, so you better watch out. That's all I'm going to say.
Uh-oh.
Bring it. Bring it, Chris. Go ahead, bring it. Chris, I think bigger is better.
Well, there you go, and it don't get no bigger than this. But anyway, we have about 5 minutes. This has been.
Chris, see that happens? You flirt, Chris, and look what happens. You lose your signal. Okay, Chris is breaking up. Chris, you're breaking up.
Am I back?
Now you're back. Go ahead.
All right, well, what I was saying is, we have about 8 minutes left now, 9 minutes left. And I think we should give Terry a chance to let people know how they can contact her again, because she deserves to have people call her. And let's get her information out there.
My email is Terry, Terri, at my first name again, Terri, my last name, JAY.com. That's my email. And I will give out my phone number, but my East Coast people, remember, there's a 3-hour time difference. It's 775-849-2727. And the best way to get me, though, is through email. My website is www.terrijay.com. And anyone that's interested can host a workshop in their area and make money doing it. So it's really fun to have me come to your city, and you can host a workshop, any one of the workshops that I do, and make some money for yourself.
Well, thank you, Terry. And I just want to say, Chris, say something. In the privilege and the blessing of doing radio shows like this is that we get to connect with people of like mind and like spirit, and that's really what this is about. When I say what I said to Terry and to other guests that we've had, male and female, it's about acknowledging the fact that we are finding each other in this world, and we wouldn't find each other had it not been for the medium of the internet and the medium of radio shows and things of that nature. And I think there's a higher purpose at work whenever we connect together, and I think it's a beautiful thing.
I do too, and I don't feel competitive in this work at all. Yeah. If somebody's not, for whatever reason, it's happened, once or twice when I haven't told people what they wanted to hear, and so I've referred them on to other people. And you guys are all great, and you're all doing such a great job. And anybody would be very blessed to be able to have readings or energy healing from any one of you.
Thank you for saying that. So, Terry, let me ask you a question. I understand that you have a different perception of ghosts than other people and other intuitives. Please explain.
Oh, this is so fun. Remember what I said about how when people die, they shut off all their negativity?
Yes.
And the negativity can't go to the other side? Well, that to me is what is a ghost, because that negativity, all of the garbage that's not a vibrational match to source, gets shed off, left behind, and if it's strong enough, it can actually coalesce or congeal and take on form and substance. That's a ghost. It's always that kind of Johnny One Note with all that, bundled up negativity. And the thing is, think about this. You guys and I, we can talk to dead people all day out in the sunshine with the lights on. Why do we need to get locked in a building at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and scare the bejesus out of ourselves, to talk to ghosts? And
absolutely.
Those guys on those shows going, oh, those poor tortured souls. What a bunch of BS. I'm not kidding you. It just upsets people because they think ghosts are can be their loved ones who haven't passed.
Amen. And I just want to do a quick follow-up. You had mentioned about this energy congealing, and on another show that we do, we had a gentleman talking about ectoplasm. What's your opinion of ectoplasm?
Well, that's probably what he's talking about. I call it garbage, negative garbage.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you. Jay, listen, Terry, I was, last night I bit my tongue. I almost bit through my tongue listening to these people talk to us, but they were so full of baloney. And when I asked them the $64,000 questions, they talk so much about how they have all this evidence of ectoplasm and how it manifested and everybody has seen it with their naked eyes and it talked to them and blah, 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 blah.
Chris is breaking up again, Chris. Chris is breaking up again.
Yeah, but we can't tell anybody. Oh, I'm sorry. It just drove me crazy.
Yeah, but here's the thing is that
anyway,
I can
go ahead,
say,
guys. I guess I'm breaking up. I apologize.
I can say, it doesn't matter what you call it. When someone dies, they leave their garbage behind. And, if you want to call that garbage ectoplasm, I don't have a problem with that. But the thing is that could you measure it? Probably. It's energy. Can you feel it? Oh, yeah. I just did a show on a real estate show about how to energetically clear a house before you sell it, because when houses don't sell, a lot of times you hear the people come in and they go, I don't like the vibe. Well, the vibe they're talking about is they don't like the energy in the house. Every time there's an argument,
exactly.
Every time there's something negative that happens, somebody's sick, there's negative energy left and it stays in the house. So by burning a solution of Epsom salts and Everclear and walking through the house with it, it actually clears out all the negative energy. The salts absorb the negativity, and using the Everclear or denatured alcohol is what allows it to burn off. It burns off the negative energy, and it works really good. Saging doesn't work at all. And so the thing is that, when we think about what ghosts are, they're basically garbage left behind. Because if I'm talking to a spirit, I'm not thinking of that spirit who's the wonderful soul and embodiment of all the positivity of the person that's passed. To me, that's not a ghost. That's a spirit. To me, a ghost is the negative energy garbage that's left behind.
And on that note, we're going to say this has been the fastest 2 hours I can remember on Vision Quest in a long time. Thank you very much to our wonderful guest, Terry J. And Terry, one more time, please tell our listeners how they can find out about you and what you do.
My website is www.terrijay.com.
Thank you so much, guys.
It was great being here.
Terry, I want to know, are you on Facebook?
Yes.
All right, well, I got to friend you then.
Okay,
Absolutely.
I'll friend you back.
Okay. Jeremy, was there something you wanted to say? Because I saw you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I forgot, man. Great show, by the way. Thank you, Miss Terry, for coming on to the show with us. It's been a great show. Everybody in the chat room has loved it. Thank you.
You guys are so much fun. You're so much fun. Call me back anytime.
Thank you so much.
Well,
and Chris, I have a quick thought of the week. It's the key to compassion. It says, I've learned, this comes from Maya Angelou, and she said, I've learned that people will forget what you said People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Words to the wise.
That's a fact. It was a wonderful, wonderful quote, and thank you for saying that, Victor. I want to say next week, we don't have a guest yet, but I'm going to try and get Stephen Popietek, the Cosmic Shaman, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about some conspiracy theories with him. Always a great show with Stephen. We're here every week, people, trying to really connect with you, and we would love some more call-ins in the future. And thank you for listening, guys. Say good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Well, all righty then.
Absolutely wonderful show, Miss Terry. Thank you.
Oh, Jeremy, it was so much fun.